Have you recently bought yourself that shiny new computer to play all of your favorite games on? Or perhaps maybe to watch all your favorite movies? But then you quickly notice that there's something not quite right with it and you feel like you just got ripped off? Well, that is what has happened here. So introducing today's example of computer ripoffs is a system that belongs to my girlfriend that she bought brand new quite a few years ago, and she originally gave it to me to clean, which I will get to by the way. But when I first opened up the side panel to have a look on the inside to see what I'd be dealing with, there were three things that immediately stood out to me and screamed out, "Ripoff!" And they quite honestly made me angry. So let's go ahead and list those three things. Ripoff number one, the RAM. For those who don't understand computer parts so well, RAM stands for Random Access Memory. A computer will not run without having at least one of these sticks installed. Typically, a configuration these days will be shipped with 2 sticks of RAM, which this system does have by the way. However, they are 2 different sizes, 2 different capacities, 2 different speeds, 2 different colors. The only thing that these 2 sticks have in common is the brand name. A good system manufacturer and system builder would use 2 of the same sticks for maximum compatibility, maximum reliability, and maximum performance. I do not understand what these people were thinking actually going ahead and installing 2 different modules into the same system, especially when the user could just go into the control panel, click on system information, and see how much RAM that they're supposed to have. Typically, you're supposed to have either 4, 8, 16, or 32 gigs of RAM, or if you want to go super balls to the walls and you want to have 64, 128 gigs, but that's a bit overkill. However, this is 3 gigs of RAM. And this was bought brand new when my girlfriend wanted 4 gigs. Ripoff. Ripoff number 2, and this one instantly stood out to me the moment I opened the side panel. And those of you with a keen eye probably picked it up as well. 2 hard drives installed, which is what my girlfriend wanted, but only one is receiving power and data, but the other one is just sitting there with no power and no data connected to it. It's just sitting there not being used. And she was charged having 2 hard drives inside the system. Again, what in the world were they thinking? When you could just click on my computer and see how many hard drives are installed. Rip off. And finally, we come to tip number 3, and this one can prove to be quite fatal if the correct safety measures were not in place. Which in this case, they clearly are not. The power supply. Unlike all the other components inside the system, where you can cheap out on if you really need to just to save a few bucks, the power supply is not one of those things. And I cannot stress that enough, because a power supply is exactly that. It supplies power throughout your system. And the last thing you want is an electrical fault to occur and have a cheap power supply not able to handle what electrical fault happens and then spark and set your house on fire. Which in these cheap power supplies is very well known for that. And I recently just noticed something else that's very disturbing about this power supply, and I'm just surprised it hasn't started a fire yet. We have here a maximum output power, and it only has a maximum output power. It doesn't have anything else. Allow me to give an example. Power supplies come in a continuous as well as a peak wattage rating. If your power supply is from a trusted brand and has a continuous wattage rating, then that's good. If it has a continuous as well as a peak rating, then that's even better. But if it only has a peak rating, which this thing has, do not put it anywhere near your system, because there's no real way to determine how long it can last for. I mean, can it handle that maximum wattage for an hour? Can it handle that for a minute or even a second? before it explodes and either kills your system, which is the best case scenario, or it creates a spark and it sets your house on fire. No one knows, you don't know, and you should not take that risk. And these system builders should be ashamed of themselves for using these shoddy quality power supplies. There are power supplies that are literally $60 that are a hell of a lot more reliable and a hell of a lot more safer to use than the ones that cost $30. Why not spend the extra 50% just to get something safer and to ensure your safety? Huge ripoff. There are a few things that you can do in the future to better protect yourself from being scammed and ripped off. One of the ways is to do research on each of the computer parts that you desire, so you know exactly what it is you're dealing with. Personally, I suggest starting with hard drives and RAM, considering that they're easier to learn about. Even looking up reviews on computer parts, especially power supplies, can save you a lot of frustration, a lot of time, and a lot of money if something were to not go right down the road. Or what if you want someone to build a computer for you? Looking up your local system builder, as well as their reviews, can also save you a lot of frustration and a lot of money if something were to not go right down the road. But you can also be better equipped as to understanding what kind of experience that you can expect to get when you go into the store and when you walk right out. Personally though, I do suggest building the computer yourself. It's fun, potentially saves more money, and you also know exactly what you're dealing with. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Like the video if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already for more future content coming your way, and I hope to see you in the next one. Oh my god, you son of a no good motherfucker.